Hello and welcome to Ivory Blush Roses. My name is Lisa and today we're on our second week of chain stitch. I believe this is block 9 in our sampler series. Today we're going to be working with chain stitches that don't work quite in a straight line. They're zigzagged or they've got different elements to it, so it gives it some added width and dimension. So I hope you'll enjoy coming along with these today. I have a 5-seam block in my frame, and we're going to start with a fun one that's an easy stitch. It's basic chain stitch, but we're going to do it on a zigzag. This is a really good one to know. I think we're just going to go right along here. Let's do this thread. It's got some nice contrast, so I think it will be easy to see. Chain stitch is one of those stitches you can work either direction. Some are more directional than others, but this particular one, it's not really going to matter. So I'm actually going to work this one from right to left rather than the way I usually do, which is left to right. So we're going to come up and start down here. Now I'm not going to make a line. I'm not going to do any guides. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a standard chain. So we're going to come up and we're going to go down in almost the same spot. But this time, instead of coming out in a straight line, we're going to take this diagonally and come up as far on the other side of that seam as we were on this seam, and take our thread around and pull through. So we have a diagonal one to start with. Now we're going to make another diagonal one, and the tendency that people want to do is to go over that, thinking that's going to lock it in. But what that does is it allows that stitch to slide down. So we want to go in right next to where we came. That's actually going to do a better job of holding that stitch. And then we're going to come and make a diagonal coming down, matching up even with here. And there's our second chain. Now the next one we're going to make parallel to that one. So once you have these first two in, that sets the rest of your seam. So we're going in just beside where we came out. We're going to come up. We're going to bring that thread around and we're going to stitch through. Pull your tension. And now we're going to go down next to where we came up. Come down below. We're going to wrap that thread around. And we're going to go up right next to where we were. We're going to go up on the far side. So bring that around. And we're going to come down. And I'm going to pull my thread down the needle, or my needle down the thread, and then wrap that around, come through. Now we did this one when we were doing the rickrack videos, and it worked great to hold down rickrack, and it was one of the most common methods I saw to attach rickrack. All right, back up. And I didn't catch it, so I'm going to just pull my loop up and make sure I'm threading through it to keep that loop as straight as possible. And I've barely got enough thread to finish this seam. And we're going to make one going off the other way, and I'm going to go right into my seam allowance here, and then we're going to lock it off. Just go down on the other side of that. That's the only time you go down on the opposite side, and then we'll knot that off on the back. Now you can see this did loop a little bit. It does still slide a little bit, but it stays much better when you come through with both threads through that loop. If you go down on the other side, it just slides and it never looks very nice. So let me knot that off, and then we'll get started on the next one. So zigzag chain stitch. Now we're going to make one that has a little bit of a similar appearance to it, and we're going to do that on this short seam. We've got 3 in this project that are sort of zigzaggy. So this one I'm going to work up the seam, and I'm going to start here, right against that seam, and I'm going to come up just above it. I want it to be a little bit smaller than this one. And so this one, we're actually going to take and bring a straight stitch down. And then we're going to come back up about halfway. And we're going to make another lazy daisy going up. And then a straight stitch coming down. And now you want to be parallel to that one. Now we're going to come back about halfway. So they're almost going to touch here at the base. And we're going to come up. And I didn't loop my thread around, so I'm just trying to find my loop here. Go around that needle. There's my chain, and then coming down parallel with that one. And then I'm going to come back about halfway. Make another chain going up and loop my thread over the needle. And I need to find the loose end. I'm going to be slight on thread here as well with this one. Come back halfway. Then we're going to make one more chain, and I didn't catch my loop, so I'm just going to go through my loop, bring it back a little bit, and I'm going to bring it off. This time I'm not going to cross over what I've already done. I'm just going to bring it to that stitch. And that is a pattern called crossed chain. And it's just got a little bit different feel to it. I like that variation as well. Now we're going to do one called cabled chain stitch. And I'm going to do that one along this seam here. It's a fun one. I sort of think of it like I did that magic chain stitch because it's just sort of interesting and magical how it turns out. So let's use this pink thread. We haven't used this one in a few blocks. I am not going to measure this one out. So I'm going to go right down the seam. I'm going to start out here in my seam allowance to get that knot out away from my stitching seam. And I'm going to make a chain. I'm going to come up. And I want a nice length, so I'm going to go about 1/4 of an inch on that. And then I'm going to put a twist in my thread. I'm going to go a distance away. Let's go, I don't know, I think I'm about 3/16 of an inch, not quite 1/4, not quite 1/8. And that I've got that twist in my thread, and I'm making another chain stitch. And as we pull this one, you can see how now we have this little connecting link in here. So I'm just going to take my needle, I'm going to wrap the thread around, go down, make my chain stitch. So I'm just pulling through, nothing fancy. And there we have our chain and a link. So wrap around, go down, come up, wrap my thread around under the needle, so I'm coming up through that loop. And sometimes you do need to adjust the tension. There we go. So that you can really see that cable clearly. This is another one of those nice ones when it's done with a heavier thread. So we're coming up over my thread, so I've got that nice loop. And there we have our chain and link. Wrap around the needle, stitch down, come up, and I'm doing it so I'm in that loop of thread to make my chain. I can tighten that up a little bit. There we go. I've got my tension off a little bit on this one, so I want to really watch that the rest of the way here. So around my needle, we're going to hide this one almost in that other stitch and come out, and I want to make sure I'm coming up through that loop of thread. There we go. Around my needle, go down, we're coming up through that loop of thread. I can just tighten that just a little bit. It doesn't need a lot. There we have our chain with link. Wrap around the needle, go down, come up through that loop of thread, so that loops all the way around. And I can tug that just to get my tension right if I need. And now we're at our seam, so I'm just going to take my link off into the middle of that seam allowance. And that is cabled chain. And like I said, we can adjust the tension slightly on this. There's a little more give on this one. I think I told you in the last video that once you've got a few chains, it's really hard to adjust. But with the cabled chain, you can do that a little bit easier. So let me knot that one off. Now we're going to do a cabled chain, but we're going to do it zigzag. So I'm going to start again off here, out in my seam allowance. And I'm going to make my chain stitch. Oh, and I'm doing it wrong, so hold on, let me try that again. Because the way I was going to do it wasn't going to be zigzag cable at all. So now we're going to start off similar to this. So we're going to make a zigzag. I'd like to make it just a little bit smaller. And so I'm going to come up in my seam allowance. I'm going down right next to it. And I obviously need to pull my thread down. I'm trying to use up some ends of thread here. I stitched right through the knot because I came up right next to it. Alright, and so we're going to make our chain going just over the other side. And now we're going to make our loop across the thread. We're going to go down a short distance across. And I'm going to stab stitch this one. So our links are going to be parallel to the seam now, and the chains are going to go diagonal. I'm going to wrap around, we're going to go down, and then we're going to come back up on the other side and make our chain. Now we're going to wrap around for that link, we're going to go down, and we're going to come back up diagonally down below through that loop of fabric to make that chain. Make our link by a wrap, go down, coming back up through our loop of fabric diagonally. There we go. Wrap around, go down, and I've got that nice loop of thread. I keep saying fabric, I think. And we're going to come up through that loop to make our chain. Wrap my thread around the needle, go down for my link, I'm going to bring that out diagonally, come up through it. I think we can get one more. Let's go down for our link. And this one we're going to make a short one because we're running into that other seam, so I'm just going to bring it down at about the same angle where we were, and that will do the job. We just did a little catch stitch over the end there. So there we have a zigzag cable stitch, and that one is a fun one, and it's got a really different look to it. For this last one, we're going to do one that's really different. This one is going to seem, how should we say? It's a little bit like sheaf stitch. And this one I am going to mark because I happen to know that I have a difficult time keeping this kind of thing nice and even. Let's actually make these sheaves pretty big. Let's line it up with the yellow line. That's the 1/4 inch line. So I'm going to go 1/4 inch either side of my seam here. So I'm just lining up this yellow line along the seam. Again, this is always easier if you're doing this flat on the table, but I'm trying to do it here in the hoop so that you can see what I'm doing. Make sure if you're working from the opposite side, you're not doing what I just did there and marking way off to the side. Now the other thing that I'm going to do is I need to mark my clusters because I have a hard time stitching them and keeping them even if I don't mark them. I know I want to try and avoid this, so I'm going to put one here. Let's make them 1/2 inch apart. So let's adjust that. I'm going to make them 1/2 inch, and actually think that will work out pretty well. We're going to be putting 3 cross stitches. I'm sorry, 3 of the sheaf type stitches going across there. So I've just marked those little intersections, and that will help me along the way. And now I'm going to come along and I'm going to use this pink thread. And let's actually start up here at the top. I'm going to come up and I'm going to make 3 stitches that are just going parallel to one another across. So there's 1, 2, and I have found with this stitch over the years that for me it works better if I'm always going down on one side and always coming up on the other, which means I'm going to have little diagonal stitches on the back, and we're going to do that same thing down here. So I'm going to have a diagonal coming down, and we're just going straight across. And I'm realizing that I'm making these a little bit on the tight side, and I might want to just loosen my tension ever so slightly, because the next stitch that we're going to come in with, and they should have some give in them, is going to bundle them. So we're going straight across. So up on one side, down on the other. It doesn't matter which direction, do it whichever way is comfortable for you. We're just going to make all these little series of straight stitches all the way down this seam. And this is one I don't see done very often. I see variations of it. Usually I see that done individually, but I love it as a continuous seam. You could do it on a curving line. It doesn't always have to be a straight line. You could zigzag this one. All right. And now I didn't mark my 3 down here. So we're running into this other stitch, and I'm just going to take it to that stitch. I'm not going to try and go under it. So I want it to sort of hide underneath that other stitch. There we go. And so I'm going to turn that over and knot that. So that's step one of this stitch. And now we're going to come in with our second color, and I'm going to start down here at the bottom, and I'm going to actually move that bottom one up ever so slightly with my finger, and we're right at that other seam. And so basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a chain stitch right around them, and I like moving that aside. I like to kind of pull them together. I'm going to bring my thread up, so I'm stitching through that loop of thread. And we're going to sort of gather them. Now I'm going to take this up, and I'm going to go up a little bit underneath here. And I'm going to come back just a teeny bit. Again, I'm going to try and pull that back a little bit. I want it to bundle. I want it to cinch them together in the center. And so here's my loop of thread. I'm going to come up through my loop. There, and you can see how that bundles it together a little bit. And again, I'm going to go up just slightly past where I'm going to come back out. Straight up. So you could certainly do these closer together. I'm going to go down on the other side. Now I have my loop of thread, and because I'm pulling that back, I'm trying to bunch them together a little bit. I'm going to bring my needle up, and I'm going to put that loop over the needle and pull the needle up through it. And there we have that little bundle. And I'm going to go up here, just under. I'm going to come back ever so slightly. Go down on the other side. I'm making my loop of thread. I'm going to pull down that top row a little bit, come up, go through my loop, and bundle that together. There's my straight stitch. That's what holds my little chain in place. I'm going to come up and go down right next to it. Making my loop. I'm going to pull that top bar down. Not a lot. Come up through that loop and tighten that down. Now we're going to go straight up, again just under that bottom loop. And I don't want to come up right where I went down with that straight stitch. So I always come back ever so slightly. And we're going to pull that back, come up, come through my loop, tighten that down, and we're just going to go off into the seam allowance. I think technically we probably should have had another little bar there, but I'm going to leave it at that for right now. And this is what's known as a butterfly chain. So you can see how you could curve that one back and forth, and it's a lot of fun. You could do more bars going across. You could vary them, the length of them, and have some of them come out longer than others to give it a little more shape. But that's a really creative one, and I don't see it done as often as you would think. I'm really happy with that one. So let me knot it off and then we'll take a look at this block. There is our block for today. We have our zigzag chain stitch. We worked that one from right to left. We have the crossed chain, which we worked from left to right. We have our cabled chain, which is one of my favorites. Again, I like it done better in slightly thicker thread. I think it has a better impact, but I really love this one. In hindsight, I probably should have marked it out because I realized I've got a couple of longer stitches in there and then everything else is different length. But it's a sampler. We're going to live and learn. Then we have our zigzag cable chain, and I like that one, and I rarely see that one done. It has great effect to it. And then lastly, we have our butterfly chain, which is one I love. I need to do this one more. I'm not sure I've ever actually stitched that on a project. I think I've only stitched it as sort of a practice or trial piece in the past. I'm really pleased with the stitches for today. These all stitched up pretty quickly. We had a little bit shorter video today, and I hope you really enjoyed them. I'd love to hear which one was your favorite. Thank you so much for being here with me today and stitching along with me. I deeply appreciate it. I wish you a beautiful day, happy stitching, and I will see you in the next video.